5 seconds.
Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to the Rad&Dire Cup. I'm Basskip.
Reserve time.
Joining me is Scant, and we can get ourselves straight into this first game. We're starting a little bit late, unfortunately, but hopefully the match is worth it. It's Vici Gaming versus LGD, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. How about you, Scant?
Vici Gaming's turn to
Yeah,
bat.
I feel like this match promises to be pretty damn high quality.
LGD's turn to bat.
And it's interesting because CDEC and eHome, kind of like the new kids on the block in the Chinese scene, have looked scarier as teams in the past few months, but recently it's Vici Gaming who came third at the summits, it's LGD who came second at WCA. These are maybe teams looking to sort of like reassert their status as top Chinese teams in the scene, and they haven't played each other recently. In fact, I think Vici's only played 2 games in the patch, which were the 2 games that they played yesterday. Something interesting that I noticed is that Vici picked 10 unique heroes yesterday. All 5 heroes completely different in both of their games, which is not actually something that we see a lot these days. People used to talk about it a lot with the old DK, with Burning and Mushi, but these days most of the top teams kind of specialize quite quickly and develop which heroes they like to pick.
Yeah, I think there are some factors to do with the patch and to do with the nature of this competition as well. I think Vici and LGD both weren't really all that challenged yesterday in their matches. They both went 2-0 pretty easily, and I think both teams are probably looking to do at least a little bit of experimentation now that it's still early days. But they both looked really convincing, and as I was just saying, it's going to be really interesting to see how this particular matchup goes. Right here. And LGD actually just going to get rid of a Nature's Prophet early on. It's been really interesting to see the trends across the scenes, because we're settling into, at least early on, into very different metas in terms of how the early drafts are going.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to Gods yesterday, I think Nature's Prophet, one of those heroes that the Aghanims build, not fully explored by any team other than maybe Alliance, and well, what do you know, Alliance just won a big LAN. And it's one of those heroes that, like, maybe that build and that hero was really strong all along, but there wasn't enough space or time to explore it. And now teams are. Like, everyone's picking it at the moment, so why not ban it straight away? Vici in particular were abusing people with it yesterday. And actually, the other hero that ISIS played yesterday was Faceless Void, so I'm kind of like hoping, just quietly hoping that he'll play it again, because that's the only time that a Faceless Void's been picked in the new patch so far was yesterday for ISIS. So sort of curious to see how it gets played. I didn't get to watch most of that game.
Yeah, I've been a little bit sad not to see more of the reintroduced heroes. I was mentioning that to Gods yesterday, that we just, with 686B, we had all of the majority of those heroes that were changed substantially get reintroduced, but haven't really seen a whole lot of play. It seems like the one big trend across all scenes is that Invoker and Tusk seem to be extremely popular, and as we saw yesterday, Tusk is pulling off all of the the mid pull and ancient pull and everything else shenanigans, so I would not be surprised to see him first pick ban until that potentially gets changed. Though Vici should know what's going on. Maybe we'll see them go and block ancients or something like that at the start of this game.
The task pool is not faction specific, right? You can do it on either side.
Yeah, I believe there's a version for either side. So for the Dire, you can pull the Secret Shop camp, the big camp, into the off lane, and you can pull the Ancients into mid, and then for the Radiant, you can pull the Ancients into mid. So both sides have mid ancient pulls at the moment, and the worst part about it is that it's not just that you're denying the wave, but Tusk is actually able to sit there and grab some farm as well off of the ancients, so you can kind of get your level 2, get your level 3, and then go and do stuff. So Tusk got nerfed in air quotes, but so long as that's in the game, it looks like he might be even stronger at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. It's something that's I think the more we see it, the more likely it is to actually just get changed or removed from the game, because at least history shows that Ice Frog and the team don't like to have abusive mid pulls in the game. But interested in Vici Gaming's Dazzle pick. I was looking at some of the draft dates of them in the patch so far, well, in recent times as well. And Dazzle's actually the most consistent hero that this team's been picking. I mean, they don't have a lot of games in the patch, but in terms of like just their recent matches, same with LGD actually. Both of these teams have been picking a lot of Dazzle. And Ancient Apparition, I think, a perfectly appropriate response if they're going to commit to the Dazzle that early on. whoever you're going to try and keep alive, well, we've got the Ice Blast to make sure that you don't actually keep them alive.
Vici Gaming's turn
Yeah, to me, the AA versus Dazzle is always a little bit interesting because the obvious factor is that the Ice Blast is a little bit annoying to play against if you're a character with heals, but just the nature of having Dazzle in your lineup, meaning that you can get through a team fight and then just top everybody off to keep on pushing, makes AA a little bit less threatening in some senses in that way. You don't get chipped away at by the Ice Blast.
Reserve time.
Yeah.
I do think it's still a great pickup here for LGD. I'd be interested to see what else they go in for. I think Vici Gaming yesterday played an AA Zeus draft, which is pretty strong. I think Zeus is also really good against Dazzle, just being able to pop ulti after the Grave wears off, and also surprisingly decent against Gyrocopter. When you look at Gyro, he's not all that tanky when it comes down to it, and a hero like Zeus forces him into an early BKB, which kind of hampers him for the rest of the game. So maybe LGD have it up their sleeve. I guess we'll have to see what they've got in mind.
Well, LGD definitely have somewhat uncharacteristically been playing fairly aggressively recently. Definitely something notable about their WCA tournaments. It's certainly not the first time this team's ever been aggressive, and I think a lot of people incorrectly judge that to be the case. I think I remember a year or two ago, even back at D2L in Las Vegas, they pulled out the aggression, and that's when Jahid was still, running things. But this is a team that the organization, regardless of which players have been playing for them, have always been associated with the more like controlling, slow-playing Chinese style. And from time to time, we have seen them pull out the aggression. I think recently, in the last month or so, has been one of those times they've shown, maybe they acknowledge that this is a time to be playing aggressively. It's LGD as an organization, I feel like is always a team, almost every year, every season of Dota. As the season develops, they become one of the stronger teams in China, and usually starting a bit slower than other teams, but kind of getting towards there. I think that the introduction of the major system created an interesting dynamic there, where like usually you get a whole year to prepare for each TI. Now there's these other big tournaments. Is the team still going to develop quickly? And I think it kind of showed for them that, I mean, you might make the argument that a lot of Chinese teams seem to not really care that much about the majors, but I think the team is already in a stronger place than where they were, and that's clear from their second place finish at WCA. And probably they'll be able to challenge Vici today, whereas if you had looked at the major, you'd have thought, no, that's no contest at all.
Yeah, they feel very similar to me to iG in some ways, in the nature of, every game that you play against LGD, they seem to just get a better read every single game on what you're up to and what your overall strategy is and how they want to deal with it. And that always seems to be why iG is always so monstrous when they come up through the upper bracket. Maybe they lose the winner bracket final, but then they figure everything out in the winner bracket loss, and then they come right back in the grand final and give you a very hard time. So LGD is feeling similar in some ways. I'm interested in go. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to agree with you. I think they're also like a learning team. I think that's definitely something that shows about them.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you talk about LGD as an aggressive team, because I feel like they do have aggression in terms of maybe pushing strategies and things like that, but there are different styles of aggression when it comes to Dota, right? There's some very pick-off heavy, very associated with the CIS style of Dota, and then there's sort of LGD style of aggression, which to me is they're gonna push objectives early, they're gonna group up, but it's not necessarily as kill heavy, but it is aggression in its own way.
Yeah, it's more about the pace of the game, the way CDEC people talk about them playing a really fast-paced early game. LGD have shown recently that that's a game they can play when they want to. Whether they're actually going to play at this game, I'm not too sure, because the Tusk looks like now it's going to be in the off lane. I was actually hoping that we'd see an MMY Tusk, because that's usually one of the heroes that LGD do make use of to apply the early pressure to convert into kills into objectives. It's probably more likely now going to be an MMY Witch Doctor with the Ancient Aberration for DDC. And while Vici Gaming pick up the Mirana, which is, I think, FY's hero, he played this yesterday as a support, and this is a hero that I'd be only too happy to see coming back into the metagame. I think it's, at least for a while, it's having a roaming Mirana as a popular hero adds something interesting to early games in terms of watching, and it's not necessarily a lot of the time when a hero becomes popular in any given metagame, it like after a certain amount of time becomes oppressive and people find a way to complain about it.
10
But I do feel like
seconds
Mirana is
remaining.
one of those heroes that you have quite a lot of control on both sides.
5
You know,
seconds
if
remaining.
you're good at dealing with the early roaming Mirana, you can actually make the support pick look a bit wasted.
Reserve
Whereas
time.
if the Mirana is good at playing the hero, it can make it look very
Vici
powerful.
Gaming's turn
So
to ban.
I think it's from like a third party perspective in terms of just like your viewing pleasure. It's nice to have support Miranas going around.
Yeah, provide some action. I'm just glad to see the hero, honestly. I feel like it's been in the trash can for
10
such a long
seconds
time.
remaining.
So hopefully we could start to see it a little bit more here and
5
there. I think
seconds
yesterday they
remaining.
ran a Bane Mirana, so they did have the full combo. Looks like this time around maybe not going to have quite the same degree of setup, but could do still have room
LGD's turn to
to
ban.
grab something in their mid lane that might make it a little bit easier to set up those.
Yeah, they had a Dragon Knight and a Festus Void as well, so there was quite a lot of setup. I mean, I guess Clockwork Cog could set up as well, but it's not. I mean, if you go back a bit, if you go back about a year,
Vici
it wasn't
Gaming's
unheard
turn
of
to
for
pick.
MMY and for Churn and for FY to just be playing roaming runners all the time without any setup. So, and looks like that's what's going to be the case today. Interesting Storm Spirit to finish off the draft. They're probably a direct response to the Ember Spirit pick. We did see was it CDEC.Y playing Storm yesterday? It didn't actually go so well for him in the end. Had a really good start to the game, and then just like they even got upset actually by CDEC Youth.
Yeah, it's. I think I have to agree with you that it does seem like it's just a response to the Ember. I mean, if you look at their lineup up until the Storm Spirit, they didn't really
10
have
seconds
any
remaining.
lockdown for him whatsoever. So it definitely looked like a game where the Ember
5
could get
seconds
a little
remaining.
bit out of control, and a really good pickup from LGD from that perspective.
Reserve
Both teams
time.
have chewed through so much of their reserve
5
time. This has actually
seconds
been a
remaining.
pretty considered draft, and now we're going to see the Morphling come out as the final grab. All right. I have not seen a whole lot of this hero recently. It feels like he's been out of the meta for a very long time, and especially not as a carry. I mean, the last time that we saw any serious Morphling was kind of off.
LGD victory.
Oh, looks like we got a remake.
Yeah, so I gotta say I feel like Morphling is like a losing pick at the moment. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's been picked I think 5 or 6 times in the patch, and I checked yesterday. It lost basically everything. The only game that it had won though was a Sylar game, so there's at least that. But I just think the hero has trouble impacting the game early on. It needs too many items before it actually affects the game at all, and I think that's an issue right now.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of build you can go to get involved early. You know, any hero that where you're aiming to potentially build a Lincoln Sphere as your first item seems so weak at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not to say there aren't farming heroes that could be relevant right now. There are actually farming heroes that can definitely be relevant, but there's a difference between the Morphling, which, you know, early on it's farming, and if there's a fight, it could TP in and waveform, not really that effective. If there's a fight, if it doesn't TP in, it's also not going to kill the top. Compared to, say, an anti-mage who, sure, it's not impacting the fight that much, but the amount of pressure it puts on you split pushing the map is a lot early on in the game. So I just feel like you got to have some way of impacting the game a lot early on, and I just don't think Morphling does that. So I think the teams are picking it right now just because of the changelog, because it got buffed, and so the adaptive strike and the morph got buffed substantially, and so they're like, well, if it's ever going to happen, it's now. But the success of the hero is going to depend more on, like, does the meta go somewhere where you can pick a hero like this than the actual stats of the hero.
They do have a somewhat decent lineup, I think, to potentially take advantage of the Morphling's nukes in the early game. I mean, they've got the AA to skill up Vortex potentially, and they've got the Witch Doctor as well. So, you know, maybe we'll see an early point in the Maledict or something like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It is, you know, definitely a hero that can run around and contribute a bit in the early game, but it'll be very curious to see what kind of build he goes for and what the overall playstyle is here. Still waiting on people to get into the lobby here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It looks like teams aren't rejoining. Maybe they have to be delivered the password manually. The other thing that I noticed is because of the Morphling pickup, it's likely that the Ember Spirit's in the mid lane. There was a stage where we saw Morphlings in the mid lane, but it doesn't really happen that much anymore. Well, I don't expect it to. And if it is Ember mid, Ember vs Storm it's a Storm winning matchup usually. There was a debate. I don't know if you ever saw. There was a Team Secret had some like internal debate about Storm.
I saw
versus
that
Ember.
video. Yeah, where they're like, you know, can't do. Yeah, that was.
So
a
Envy
great
was like,
video.
no, Ember will be fine. And then at the end of the video, he was like, okay, you guys are right. Storm wins. And that's how I think it goes. And I think that's maybe concerning as well, because if we consider the fact that we're saying Morphling takes a while to come online, if the Ember Spirit's going to lose its lane as well, it ends up being a lot of pressure on the other 3 heroes, the sort of supporting cast of LGD, to make sure that they're in the game early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one nice thing that they do have is if it ends up being a roaming Mirana who's not spending a whole lot of time up on the safe lane, MMY should... Oh, not MMY, but the offlane Tusk. Immediately I thought of Tusk because like, it's MMY, but no, it's not.
RTK.
Yeah, RTK playing the offlane Tusk should be able to get at least something in the early game and then be able to hopefully get things going. So even if the lanes don't go so amazingly because of the pressure from the Mirana, might be able to turn things around a little bit with some Tusk ganks. Wait, are we on the... Yep. Are we in the wrong lobby? Well, I mean, they're saying something in the... let's figure this out. I thought that we had it right, but maybe we don't.
I thought we were in the lobby with the admin.
What? I thought he was in the lobby with us. How did that happen? How did we miss the lobby? Oh boy. What? Alright, I guess we're off the ticket then. Fun stuff,
Okay,
stuff.
so we'll have to use the OT for this game.
Yep. That's fun stuff. Oh well. Sorry to those people who are hoping to watch it on Dota TV.
Yeah, but I mean, in our defense, we were sitting in a lobby.
We're sitting in a lobby with iG.V Sakura, yeah, who is the admin, so... What do you know? Oh well.
Pretty sure we got juked in some way.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll load in and hopefully get this going.
Yeah, but just going back to the teams, I feel like a lot of people would have said, like, there was a lot of criticism of Burning in particular back at the Frankfurt Major. And my position was always that we don't really know how much it's on Burning, how much it's on what's going on in the team, what decisions that the team is making about which hero you should play and which items you should buy and those kinds of things. Either way, they didn't look that comfortable playing around Burning. And since then, since the Major, I think they've looked a lot more comfortable, especially at the Summit. He was playing a lot of Vengeful Spirits, Ember Spirit, Wraith King. It just felt like the team was gelling more as a unit, and that was something that I was interested to see further. Whereas LGD, again, as I said, the interesting development about them recently is that they've shown signs of playing a more early game oriented game sometimes, although with the draft they have here, it's not, I mean, this looks almost like a draft that says we want to secure the late game more than anything else.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's definitely we've definitely been seeing a different Burning from the Burning of the past. Even that, even the Wraith King game, notably the other day, was very unburning in sort of the way that he was playing. Wasn't being very cautious. Was running into fights with like 10 seconds to go on his ultimate, and then dying right before his ultimate came up, and things like that. But we'll see. Maybe he's just trying out something a little bit different. I do think that the way that carry is supposed to be played at the moment, for the most part, is you're going to get your level 7, your level 8, whatever it is, on the safe lane, and then people are immediately going to try and make some kind of an impact with their ultimate immediately, or whatever initial farm that they've got. You know, we really started to see that with the gyrocopter, and people have been doing it more with the jug as well, even rotating to the opposing safe lane to look for kills, and it just seems to be the direction that things are going at the moment.
Yeah, I agree, which brings back the Morphling comment, right? Because
yeah,
like, what's Morphling gonna do? It's
Prepare for battle.
TP into your lane and morph stats in front of you. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's more points in the adaptive strike early on, perhaps. You know, just instead of using the morph for as much survivability, just using it for just to adjust his stats. But it is Sylar, so I'm not going to doubt him too much on the morphling, though. Because it is Sylar, I feel like we could end up seeing a slightly more defensive overall strategy. But I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on it as we get ourselves in. Are you in the game now? All good to go?
Yeah. I'm just watching this. Have you seen this little warding play that happened in the mid lane? I'm pretty sure both teams saw one another warding there.
Yeah, there's some.
And they're pinging.
Yeah, there's some mass pings coming out. Do they have any? They do have some sentries here. Alright. Okay, so FY's gonna be able to get rid of this ward. That would have been a really nice ward to have for LGD for scouting some of these Mirana rotations, but unfortunately looks like they got there just a little bit too late. Did they? Looks like they didn't TP out. I think RTK just ran for it.
Yeah, he was trying his luck basically, because like to place that ward, if there's any enemies on the high ground, and there could always be, because you haven't TP'd, it's just like guaranteed counter. So I think he's hoping that what a lot of the Dire teams do recently is they commit to the enemy off lane, they go into the jungle to try to get the ward early up. But there's a little bit of a clash here at the rune. Arrow's gonna miss.
Yeah, looks like maybe just gonna grab that bounty. Burning's gonna end up grabbing the other one, so a small advantage to the Ember Spirit starting out this middle lane. What kind of build do we have out of the Storm? Pretty aggressive from Super, actually. He's got the Null Talisman, has a Fairy Fire. So, looks like ideally going to try and bully out the Ember Spirit right from the start. And does get the slightly better block, courtesy of not actually getting the rune. So, let's see how he starts this out here.
Yeah, the bounty rune actually for maybe might be significant in this lane. We're talking about how the Storm is supposed to win this lane, but I think that if the Ember Spirit, like, maybe around level 3 will... Alright, just gonna miss. If Ember Spirit gets to level 3 and like goes into the 2 levels in shield while Storm only has 1 point in Remnant still, that might be a key time for him to play very aggressively, and he is going to have that slight XP advantage because of the bounty rune.
Yeah, I've seen both of them salving up here, but it is gonna be, it looks like an alright lane for the Ember Spirit, at least for now. A lot's gonna depend on whether or not FY is gonna be able to land an arrow at some point. There isn't any Radiant Vision on this top side of the map, so maybe is somewhat vulnerable from that perspective. Super's just getting burned down at the moment. They're forced to pop the Fairy Fire, turns around for some auto attacks. Is FY gonna try for something? Lobs the arrow, gets past the creep wave, but maybe manages to dodge it, kind of realizing what was going on there. Alright, so that was the Salve trade. Now we've had the Fairy Fire trade. Both of them very low, and looks like maybe he's actually just gonna back all the way up. Was a little bit short of being able to grab his bottle.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, but at the same time he managed to dodge 2 arrows and not actually die himself, and it's definitely a lane where if he had got an early death, he's in huge trouble. So it's a loss that he has to go to base, and that the Storm is staying at the base and just ferrying out a Sylve. But I feel like it could be substantially worse if maybe he hadn't played as well as he had.
Yeah, a death definitely would have been a huge setback. I wonder if someone's going to pull him a TP scroll here. The support's both have a little bit of gold. Let's see what he does. How greedy he is. FY just going to set up, get ready on the mid lane. Going to try for another arrow pretty much immediately, it looks like. He's got these new super buff clarities to keep the arrow spam going, so that's always going to be nice. Interestingly enough, RTK is getting very little in the offlane. Pointing the poison touch from the Dazzle and some really good lane control from Burning is actually kind of keeping RTK down. He's gonna have his level 2 before too long, but...
Well, FY tries another arrow at RTK, doesn't hit again. So far 0 out of 3, but the thing about roaming run is like it's not about how many you attempt or how many you miss, it's just like when you hit them. Like, what time do you hit them? Who do you hit them on? Or do you convert them into kills? And if you were to, you know, shoot 5 or 6 and only hit 1, but it's an important kill, that's like absolute good value out of the pick.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see that RTK hasn't gone for any shenanigans at all with the Tusk so far. Like, I don't even know if he tried to block any creeps on the offlane or anything like that. We've definitely, or at least from looking at Ice's experience, it seems like he may have been manipulating the offlane position a little bit just to help him out, because he's already managed to grab his level 3 and he's in the substantially more difficult lane. It's a full range tri lane, but is doing much better than RTK experience wise. There's a full level on him right now.
Yeah, I wonder whether ROTK was maybe spending some time early on looking around the map. You always got a question when it's the captain if like he's like saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, maybe watch out for the arrow," like, and not really thinking about how to manipulate his own lane. Well, nice part of the smoke. He's got that level 2. He's got the snowball, and he and MMY might be looking for. Maybe they expect actually an attempt on the Ember Spirit. I wonder if maybe he lets himself get arrowed here just to like set up for them to bait the storm in.
Keep an eye out. They were definitely waiting for the Ember's shield to cool down. They're going to come in. Arrow flies. Will it actually connect? Nope. Sails right through the middle of 3. There's going to be a grave, but Super unfortunately does not have his ultimate just yet. However, they get the turnaround. First blood for Fenrir. A few more auto attacks coming in. FY gets the second kill. MMY manages to limp away, but that was great for Vici Gaming, managing to turn that one around. Both teams were anticipating something mid.
Yeah, I think the issue really is that ROTK was just off the map for far too long, and so Vici had to know, like, okay, something's happening. When a level 2 task is off the map for that long, if we don't see that he's pulling, well, he's smoke ganking it.
Yeah, ROTK comes over to the offlane now, just gonna eat a rocket barrage in the face. Let's see into that. I guess the other factor is that he's offlane, and so the only likely gank is mid. I mean, you saw the shards came out, and the TP immediately started up from Fenrir. He knew exactly what was happening there. But LGD, I don't think it was a bad play by any means. It's just kind of backfired on them.
I mean, it works in 2 ways. The one thing is that the task is missing, and so you expect it. The other thing is that because the task is missing, there's actually nothing else for Dazzle to focus on. You know, you're kind of sitting around just waiting to TP somewhere, as opposed to if there's a hero you have to deal with in your lane, then there's like your attention split.
Yeah. They made an attempt on Ice bottom, but it's just barely going to survive. Gets off a nice cogs and still had a salve, so be able to continue soaking up some experience. Maybe in some trouble mid. We get the leap forward. Arrow being pump faked. Maybe he's going to sidestep it, but is he going to go down to the auto attacks anyway? Yes, he will. RTK a little bit late to this party. Does come in and has 1 point in the snowball, but Super still got some bottle sips, and there's still another heal, and the mango if the grave is required from the Dazzle, so RTK wisely going to back up. But that is 2 deaths now in the mid lane for this Ember, and that does not bode well. Arrow just going to catch the creep. Alright.
Yeah, especially because, like we were saying before, Morphling's going to take a while to come online. Ember Spirit's meant to be the core that comes online early in this team, and he's the one that's going down. Storm Spirit's a hero that has natural ways of dealing with Ember Spirits early on in the game. A couple of items, few levels. And to make matters worse, Ice is actually getting a lot of levels, nearly level 5 on that clock.
Yeah, and we were talking about the Tusk being a way that, you know, LGD might be able to come back into the game a little bit if the lanes didn't go so amazingly, but RTK has also been trying to do things, but he's been a little bit unsuccessful so far, so that could be tough. Fortunately, he does have some pretty good supports to roam with him. I think A and Witch Doctor both pair really nicely with the Tusk, but it is going to be difficult, especially with the Dazzle on the other side. You have to know where Fenrir is if you want to try and get anything done.
Yeah, at the top lane, FY is now mid rotation up here, looking to put some more pressure on RTK. Or just dropping off the ward actually for now.
Yeah, spots him out.
They're gonna have that information.
Yeah, if they land an arrow, he's dead. I mean, Calldown's ready to go for burning 4 points in the rocket barrage as well. It would be. Is he gonna? Oh, okay, gets the side pull. Is he gonna get the stack? Gets the stack. Might consider just calldowning the stack to clear it. Who knows? We'll see. Or maybe just FY is gonna go and soak it up a little bit.
Yeah, so the trade-off that LGD have had to make now is MMY is standing around mid trying to protect maybe who... Maybe actually took a lot of damage. But with MMY standing there, that gives more space to Ice, which means he gets his level 6 sooner, which actually could put even more pressure onto the Ember Spirit. So it's like kind of, in some ways, a lose-lose situation for LGD, where they're going to get more pressure either right now or in the near future.
Yeah,
but yeah, it looks like you caught it right, the cooldown on the
Radiant's top tower is under
that's
attack.
there's still some remnants of the old burning in there. You know, we're talking about him being a changed man, but he's still much more likely to call down a stack than he is to go and use to make that first rotation to the opposing safe lane and use the call down there. But I think it's the right play for the time being. Just get that advantage early on, kind of farm for now, wait until the Clockwork gets his level 6, and then they might start being a little bit more aggressive. Speaking of aggression on the Clockwork, he's gonna get caught out here.
Radiant's bottom tower
MMY
is
maybe
under
just
attack.
swooping in to grab that rune. So alright. Another kill on the board for LGD. We're talking about this as if they're in a pretty terrible situation. And they are. They're down by quite a bit of net worth and quite a bit of experience. But it's still, of course, far from over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly biased against the hero Morphling. I feel like I want someone to prove to me. I mean, like I said, LGD is the team that's actually won with this hero in this patch, so maybe they will prove it. But the way I understand the game, it's not really the hero for now. I mean, maybe one advantage of it, what you're talking about now, is invading the enemy safe lane. This is definitely not a hero that dies that way. So if Burning makes a rotation to the off lane, they could kill supports. They're not going to kill Sylar.
Yeah, he is very safe. Applies a decent amount of pressure to the opposing offlaner as well. That's something that you're always going to be looking for in your one role. How easy is it to leave them, and how much farm is the offlane going to get a result? I mean, Ice is still getting quite a bit of experience, and actually quite a bit of CS as well, 22 and 10. So it looks like the Morphling not actually all that successful in bullying him out, really.
Yeah, the buffs to the Morphling were Adaptive Strike. I think the base damage is 100 now, instead of like, it used to be I think 40, 50, 60 or something like that.
Yeah.
And also the morph change, it increased by 60% actually at level 4, so it used to be 10 stats per second and now up to 16. So it's just very, very difficult to kill this hero. So all the things that made it really annoying to deal with back when it was a popular carry, if it can fit in as a popular carry, it's obviously going to be even more annoying than it ever was. But yeah, it's you're not scared if you see Morphling TPing into the middle of the fight. You're not like, okay, we need to stop diving, Morphling's coming. And that's really where I'm waiting to see when Vici start making those dives and towers with the Clockwork or with the cooldown or the Storm Spirit. Is the Morphling able to, you know, have a relevant impact in those kinds of early fights?
Yeah, the one other angle that we haven't really talked about that much, I mean, it was a good Ember Spirit game from the perspective that VG had very little lockdown and not all that much capture. That's a weird one. Moonlight Shadow to try and get him out of here is going to be able to dodge the Searing Chains. Actually just heads off to the left now. Looks like Ice might actually be a-okay. This Moonlight Shadow is actually going to last quite a while. Is he even going to stick around? Looks like he's just going to wait for his Tranquil Boot regen and maybe try and surprise somebody here.
Another arrow attempt. But it's actually, I mean, all the talk about the Morphling, it's actually maybe he's falling a bit behind at the moment. It's not a big enough gap that like a couple of kills wouldn't put him back in there. But it's concerning for me because let's say Morphling does get farm and does come online. If Ember Spirit's behind in this game, it's going to be food for the Storm Spirits going later. That's really not a situation you want to be in if you're maybe, so needs to make some kind of plan to keep up and catch up.
Yeah, they did have a little stack that he just cleared out, so that is going to put him in a slightly healthier looking position. Just 900 gold behind the Storm Spirit at the moment. Ice looks like he's going to be waiting in the offlane until he has another hookshot back up, so no big rotations out of him just yet. Burning not going all that greedy with his item build actually. He's just picked up a Yasha and a Belt of Giant Strength at the moment, so looks like we're just going to be seeing the early S&Y out of him, and we'll probably see some kind of attempt with maybe the Gyrocopter and the Clockwork before too long. Yeah, okay, Clockwork's coming all the way up to the safe lane right now.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Oh, and there's the response TP immediately from MMY's Witch Doctor.
Is level 6, does have the Death Ward ready to go. They're going to come snowballing in on top of Predator at the TP as well. Out of the morph, we're going to see, oh, it's the arrow straight onto Sylar. He is morphing up, but doesn't manage to survive. Now in comes Super, jumping in on top of MMY, maybe trying to do some work with the Flame Guard, but just gets forced back by the auto attacks. It's just going to be a tower and the one position kill for Vici Gaming. That is absolutely the best situation that they could have hoped for there.
So Morphling comes into an early fight, and we said the main strength of the hero early on is that you can't kill it, and what happens if it dies? Well, arrow almost... it actually still catches me.
Yep, still goes through. Are they going to go for it? They've got the Starstorm. It's only the 1 point. Super's going to jump in as well with the ball. Oh, that is a really
That is so
unfortunate
frustrating.
death.
Yeah, he manages to actually jump away and still gets hit because he jumped in the same line as the arrow. It's... Oh man, I don't know, but just going back to the Morphling, like, the strength of the hero should be early on that it doesn't die, and if that's the only thing it actually has achieved, going into the fight it died. I don't know, I feel like it illustrates the point pretty clearly, and now the net worth, there's a big gap starting to build with Burning pulling far ahead. The one disadvantage we were talking about when these early fights are going to start happening, and the one disadvantage for Vici is because their supports are Mirana and Dazzle, it's always going to be with the core rotations. They're not going to really... Well, enemy jungle is actually Isis. Looks like he's in trouble against Navy. But it's not like Mirana or Dazzle on their own with one core is going to set up a team fight. Mirana hitting an arrow with the Storm or the Clock or the Gyro could set up a pick-off. But as like a dive or a full-on skirmish, it's going to be core rotations always for Vici Gaming, which at least gives LGD the heads up.
Yeah, get a little bit more information that way. That fight could have actually been so good on top lane if Sylar had just gotten the waveform off. I think they, even if he dies afterwards, at least they kill Burning. If he manages to nuke everybody. But I guess there was still the I think Dazzle still pretty much had everything in reserve as well, so Burning probably feeling pretty confident out of that. And LGD, I don't know what kind of plays they could make. I guess they need some kind of Tusk gank with the Witch Doctor Death Ward to find a pick-off somewhere, but it feels like at this point Vici might even just be able to start 5-manning really heavily, take these tier 1 towers, and then item advantage is going to be pretty huge.
Yeah, I basically think LGD needs to do something to change the dynamic of the game before Super gets his Orchid. Because if the game keeps taking the path it's taking, Storm's going to have Orchid in the next couple of minutes, probably 5 minutes or so. Because they're going to kill a tower, then he's going to get a lot of farm, they might get a couple of kills. And once he's got the Orchid, if the game is how it is, it's difficult to come back.
Oh, they flare Scat too, they're going to jump in with the hook and the ball lightning call, then getting dropped on top. RTK won't be able to get off the snowball. Sylar joining this fight. Ice Blast is flying in, will connect nicely on 2, waveform through, onto FY, but he's able to jump away. Chain's not going to connect on too many, Burning just flacking off the towers, super jumping a little bit further forward, looking for this kill on maybe. Rocket Player's going to catch, maybe forced to jump once again with the Remnant, and they just rocket barrage down Sylar. Did not have a Remnant, didn't have his ultimate up, it looks like. Yeah, Replicate just...
Yeah, and the arrow caught him yet again. It seems like FY, who's actually missed a significant number of arrows this game, doesn't miss any when he's aiming at the Morphling, and it's actually the most important hero for him to be hitting with these arrows.
That's 2 huge fights now for Vici. I guess the top one wasn't huge. It was just the Morphling death, but then they got the follow-up. FY jumps in, arrow connects. He's only got the 1 point in the Starstorm here, so it's not a crazy amount of damage on VDC, but Jeremy's just around the corner. It's actually just going to be Fenrir who finishes up the kill. Snowball coming out. RTK is the only one inside of that one, and it's right into the battery assault. Hookshot's on cooldown for the time being, and looks like the rest of VG not interested in trying to find that kill, so just going to be one more, but early game continues to spiral out of control if you're LGD.
Yeah, and Super's now something like, what, 1,000 gold? But less than 1,000 gold away from his Orchid. And I do feel like as much as the Storm's been nerfed, if you're an item ahead, and especially if that item's the Orchid, and you're against heroes like Amber Spirits and Morphling, that's when the pressure becomes insurmountable. That's what I feel like.
No one's going to be able to go anywhere safely. And they don't have the best defensive supports either to be able to sit behind somebody and keep them safe from the storm. I mean, it's just the cask bounce pretty much. So it's tough. Oh, we're gonna Clockwork Blade Mail now. Gyro's gone back for an HOTD. Already has the creep in position, ready to stack up some Ancients, and already has a little Ancient stack going. So this economic advantage is only going to get worse, and LGD just going to group up a bunch of heroes on the mid lane right now. They don't really have anything for vision. They see Burning over in the opposing jungle, but they're just anticipating that this push is going to happen on the tier 1 tower. And I think they're kind of telling themselves that this time around they want to have everybody in position before the tower drops, because that's been the problem for both top and bottom lanes, is that they had 2 heroes or 3 heroes there ready to fight, and then either those heroes died immediately or the people who were forced to TP in died. So VG have always really had the position advantage on these pushes, but LGD going to try and turn things around, at least for this tier 1 mid.
Well, they're going to try and super, but he sees it coming, double rolls away, and that's going to be fine. Now they turn things around on RTK, and he's almost certainly going to go down.
Auto-attack death. Looks like Clockwork is going to get caught by the cold feet. Yeah, got the coconut bouncing around a little bit, but VG is still going to be just fine. Super, still a little bit of mana in reserve. Sylar still just farming up his Lincoln Sphere at the moment. But VG now going to be able to start moving in onto this tower. Calldown's still ready to go. Storm doesn't have all that much mana right now, so it does have to be a little bit cautious, but it looks like VG feeling confident just to muscle through this.
Radiant structures are
It's
fortified.
an uncomfortable dynamic for LGD because, like you said, they had been jumping in again. Actually, is the Ember Spirits. There's
They got
another
the
Ice
Ice Blast. Fender might be in a little bit of trouble. Is going to be forced to grave himself up. Still alive for the time being. Clockwork runs in with the Blade Mail active. They're doing good damage to Sylar. Will be forced to jump away. No, sticks around. Gets off one more wave. Burning, dying to this Death Ward. Huge damage coming out of the Witch Doctor. And it is going to end up being a 3-for-2 trade so far. FY gets stunned up. Does still have the Leap, the Arrow, and the Starstorm all available. Leaps forward now, but Sylar's still on top of him. Manages to snag the bounty. We do have another nuke coming out. Gets hit by the Adaptive Strike. Maybe a Remnant coming back off cooldown in just a second. Is going to jump around.
Middle tower is
But
under
Sylar with
attack.
the wave finishes it off. So that's a 4-for-2. Good grab. A really good catch out of the Ember to keep everybody underneath the tower, and then managed to follow it up. So it looks like having everybody
Dire's top
as
tower
5
is
ready to
under
fight
attack.
was the solution for LGD.
They killed Dazzle first. I feel like the significant thing is that once Dazzle's dead, then all of a sudden the team's gotten used to playing in a way that depends on Dazzle keeping them alive, and Dazzle wasn't there anymore. Because the initial aggression actually didn't work, right? They were all there and they went in on the storm. Actually, the Tusk dies. Which is what I wanted to comment before, is like an uncomfortable dynamic for LGD where, exactly like you said, if they come in late to the fights, it's not going to work out, so they need to be there early. But if Vici Gaming decide, okay, we're just going to split and farm while they're doing that, you can't, you're just losing value. And so I felt, ROTK felt like, okay, I need to make a play to justify that we're all standing around here. That doesn't work out, but afterwards, Vici Gaming get a bit too confident, I think, and I think it's really good of Maybe to recognize that there's an opportunity for them to actually burst down the... It seems like Maybe's probably the one making the call there. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just the DDC with the Ice Blast. Once the Dazzle's down, it's kind of like... It should be, anyway, panic stations for Vici Gaming in any fight.
Yeah. From Vici, I think it also seemed like a little bit of overconfidence. I mean, Storm was around half mana. Dazzle had like 40% or something like that. So they didn't really have everything. They weren't in full fighting shape, but yeah, really good of LGD to take full advantage. We've got so much Dire Vision
Dire's top tower
over on the
is
Radiant
under
side of the map.
attack.
Vici looking to set up some more picks. They're going to jump in on Sylar. This is the Orchid being unveiled. Can they actually keep him alive? Gets pushed back. Arrow not going to connect. They're doing good damage with the Death Ward. They will, at the very least, end up losing Ice, so the 1-for-1. They had everybody from LGD bottom lane, though, but could only find the one counter kill, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a good point you make about the mid fight, actually, about the Storm having low mana, and that's also like related to the nerfs that the hero's gotten recently, because you expend mana a lot more quickly early on, and where in the past you might have been able to use a certain amount of mana to zip around, jump in a fight, and then like next fight also be ready. These days, early on, not as often the case. You have to actually watch your mana, make sure it goes back up, like he's doing now, actually, dropping the Orchid, getting the Arcane buff, and he'll be okay for the next fight now.
Yeah, I think if he'd been able to find the Witch Doctor on that mid fight, then probably would have gone very differently, because we had... It seemed like almost a full Death Ward channel on mid that was really important to winning that one. But Vici just going to step back a little bit, take some more farm. Super, I think, feeling very confident with his Orchid. Maybe
Radiant's bottom
still just
tower
buying up
is
small
under
items for the
attack.
time being. Has been able to tank up a little bit. I don't know if that's going to save him in the face of the Storm Spirit, but still needs to find whatever items that he can.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And the Lincoln's is almost complete as well on the
Oh,
morning. so that's
5-second
gonna-
arrow at bot lane. I don't think Super can go there on his own.
Dire's structures are fortified. Radiant's
gonna
middle
go for
tower
top
is
instead.
under attack.
It's now that Dazzle's finished Glimmer Cape, it's not nearly as likely they're going to burst down Dazzle at the start of the
Dire's
fight,
top
which is
tower
a big
has
boost for
been
Vici
denied.
Gaming. And actually putting the Glimmer Cape and the Mirana LC together, I feel like a lot starts to turn on LGD having reveal. If they don't have reveal in a fight, they almost automatically just lose it. Or they catch up Super in the top lane. That will be a pickle. What
Yeah,
they failed to try to do in the mid lane.
Yeah, that was really good. I think they even kind of anticipated the rotation out of him, because they had 3 people grouped up before he even TP'd top, and then as soon as they saw the TP coming in to defend the tower, Super's telling himself, I'm going to put pressure on this Ember, I'm going to force him back. And they immediately run up
Radiant's
there and
middle
grab that
tower
kill.
is
So.
under attack.
Another really nice grab. LGD making all the right kind of moves to slowly but surely get themselves back to this game. I mean, they've managed to level off the net worth and the experience deficit at least somewhat.
Radiant's
And
middle
Morphling is
tower
going to start
has
farming
been
more quickly.
denied.
And is going to feel more confident once he has this Lincoln Sphere up. So he's going to be able to go for some of the more dangerous farm, which is definitely going to
Dire's
help.
top
But
tower
burning
is under
is
attack.
colossal right now, and that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's what I mean. What exactly deals with them once he finishes BKB? That it feels like that's the timing Vici's waiting for. I think if Gyrocopter has BKB, they could just force the rush. They could just go for objectives because even if Dazzle's not protecting him, it's just like, what do you actually do? Do you just like War's punch and Death Ward for damage? Those are like your best plans to deal with the BKB Gyro this early in the game.
Yeah, he's going to be the literal B god for the next little bit after he finishes up this BKB. Where do you think the Morphling goes from here? So he's completed the Lincoln Sphere. Are we just going to see Manta full split push, right click kind of style, or do you think this is potentially an Ethereal Blade game? It seems like a decent E-Blade game for shotgunning the Mirana and the Dazzle potentially, but
yeah,
I think it's going to take a little while to farm.
The E-Blade is the build that I've seen more recently. It's the build that I think it was CDEC.Y went for yesterday. And actually building into Blink off that was Lincoln's Ethereal Blade and Blink, but I don't know. Silo will probably be a better judge of what he needs if he needs to be fighting or nuking, and the concern is if you go that nuking build, you still have no answer to the Gyrocopter.
Yeah, the only thing's going to be hopefully waiting out the BKB somehow and just relying on your split push to drag the game out. But had the Moonlight Shadow popped, Vici got a little bit of scouting information, but unfortunately the one here that Ice ran into was just the Morph, so won't be able to go for that kill. But Vici still exerting their strength all over the map. Still have some really good wards around the place. This one's just about to fade, actually. Have managed to put one up over in the high ground here by the top tier 2. And RTK is actually blocked in by the replica at the moment. Alright, so I was going to let him out there. Okay. But, yeah, VG, like we were saying, they just get the BKB and looks like they're just going to go.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, it's all a positional thing now. I mean, for LGD to get an advantage, it depends on them somehow, like, killing Burning's allies without having to die to Burning, which is a difficult thing to do against Gyrocopter because it's kind of everywhere. It's got the AoE, it's got the move speed, it's got the flak, so I don't know. The smoke from Vici, it looks like they want to start the pick off.
Yeah, jump in on Sylar. Is he going to be tanky enough to survive through this? They did manage to force staff him back a little bit further. Continues to morph up, Burning in the midst of everything here. Is he going to be able to get off the BKB? Does after the Ice Blast. They've already lost Ice, and the Death Ward is bouncing through. Super and Burning both very low. Storm hanging onto the last little bit of his mana. Maybe he's going to give chase, popping the drum charge. Burning also running away. Looks like he might be alright. RTK does have a snowball in a couple of seconds. Comes a little bit further forward. Has the Ice Shards now as well. One more Remnant out of maybe. Looking to come in, and looks like they will actually be able to bring down Burning. One more Sleight of Fist to finish it up. Unfortunately, wasn't able to regroup with his team, and now FY might be in a bit of trouble. Gets hit by the Adaptive Strike, and that's a long duration stun after Sylar morphed up all of that strength. Gets the leap away, but looks like he might just end up dropping Mules to buy some more time. But that is 3 kills for LGD.
Yeah, and that's the 16th strength per second. I mean,
coming in really
that's
big.
the buff to Morphling. Actually, like, making a clear difference, because they commit a lot to try and start with bursting down the Morphling. They just don't kill it. And if it was any other hero, they'd definitely make the kill in that situation with the amount of disable and silence that they had. But yeah, so playing into the strengths of the Morphling, and I doubt we'll see them doing that again this game.
Yeah. So they, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they used the Orchid to pop the Lincoln so that they could get the pull. So unfortunately, didn't have the. Yeah, couldn't immediately lock him down.
I think it was. Yeah.
I mean, he was morphing, right? So obviously.
Yeah.
I guess it's tough. They don't really have any other ways to pop it. I guess Mirana could have leapt in and Yulesed, but that seems a little bit tenuous. So good fight for LGD. They're gonna close the kill score a little bit, 12 to 14. Gonna bring the net worth right back as well. Only about a 2k deficit right now, about 2.5k experience. And we've got the Manta style up now and Maybe, so both Sylar and Maybe are gonna start feeling way more confident in terms of their split push, which is going to be difficult for VG to deal with. They've got the Clockwork, but he is not going to stop Morphling or Ember Spirit split pushing, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting because we were talking about how it's not easy for LGD to deal with the Gyrocopter. It's not really that easy for VG to deal with the Morphling either, and I would argue that the Gyro needs to be dealt with more than the Morphling, but if VG are going to, like, decide to try and all go on the Morphling, then they're making the fight about the Morphling and not about the Gyrocopter, and I think that's where they lose out there. I think if they're not focusing on the Morphling, it's not like the Morphling would be threatening them that much in that fight. You know, they could probably quite comfortably ignore us and focus on other heroes. Whereas for Burning's Gyrocopter, it's not really the case. If LGD get into like a fair 5v5 fight, they have to deal with Burning's Gyrocopter.
Yeah, I think it's also.
I think.
No, go, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I basically just think that Vici Gaming, if they approach the fight slightly differently, they're still at a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I think part of it is also to do with expectations. I mean, you were talking about it being, that's the Morphling buff right there, and we were even talking about early on that this is not a hero that we see all that much of. So I get the feeling that VG, having not taken a fight for a little bit and successfully killing the Morphling in the last 2 fights, were kind of telling themselves like, same old Morphling. We think we have enough damage to kill him here, so we're gonna go for this pick off. And then, well, that expectation gets challenged a little bit, and they are forced into diving a little bit further than they were expecting. So now those changes do sometimes catch you like that. Morphling's got some really good farm now, actually. 3.3k gold on top of the Lincoln Sphere. So if we are going to be seeing the shotgun, could see the Eagle Song picked up in just a second. And what else do we have? VG just with a BKB on the Storm Spirit.
Yeah, one of the traps actually is that Miranda's arrow goes through Lincolns, and so it's like you have a way to disable the Morphling for a long time, and that makes you think, surely we can't go anymore. Well,
Because flying in, Blade Mail pops, he's going to Force Staff himself away. Arrow flied through, did not connect on anything. Fenrir looking for the slow. They're actually going to be able to pop the Lincolns on the Morph, but the Storm Spirit is still a very long way away. Brennan going to pop the BKB and just comes charging in. Wants the kill on MMY, is going to be able to get it. The Flak actually cleaning up the secondary support as well.
And Tusk is going to go down as well still.
TK going to do as much damage as he can before he dies. Does manage to Greaves off the silence, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I feel like I've been saying, that Vici Gaming are still going to be in a strong position if they're not, you know, putting all their resources into taking down the Morphling. Of course, the fact that they struggled with taking down the Morphling, the fact they lost the fight when they put everything into that, is at least an indicator that if Sylar gets a couple more items, he could be a very,
maybe
very big problem.
5-second arrow. Is there any backup here for FY though? Looks like maybe not. Slight chains. Yules is still available. FY playing this pretty coy. Looks like he might be alright. Maybe running up inside the base right now gets the second slight chains. I don't think that's enough damage either. 53 HP remaining for FY.
Meantime, FY's team is killing Rush, and Ice Blast has hit them, but I don't think there's any time for LGD to actually do anything about it. Now that's a Gyrocopter and a Storm Spirit who both can't really die. I mean, you can't kill the Gyro through BKB, you can't kill the Storm through Aegis and BKB.
Yeah.
So again, it's... I do feel like for Vici Gaming to go into fight and lose now, it would be their own failures, like, for example, focusing on Morph the way they did before, and Morphling has brought up a Yasha, actually. So I think, yeah, that my feeling as well is that you can't really rush the shotgun here, where the problem you're having is 2 heroes that have BKBs and are very tanky and strong cores. If Morphling's contribution to the fight was taking down a support, while Gyro and Storm are, you know, killing all of his teammates, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, and to me, what it looks like right now for LGD is that they just have to kick this split push up as hard as they possibly can, because I think even just the Morphling, like the Morphling made an appearance top lane, where maybe he was split pushing, and I think that was part of it. Part of it was that he just got arrowed, and the Morphling wanted to provide some backup. But not only did they lose the Roche, but they also lost their position on the map. I mean, bottom lane's being pushed in right now, top lane's all right, but the momentum is definitely in the Dire's favor, and they have to try and wait out this Aegis as best they can, because like you said, they cannot fight into the Aegis BKB Storm Spirit right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. The split push is going to be the route for LGD, but it's tough. I mean, even with the... I think even with the Mantis Star and Ember Spirit, if he split pushes too deep on his own, he'll die. It's only really the Morphling that's got, like, absolute safety in splitting the map. Ember Spirit's going to have to farm further back. Actually trying to make a kill here on Ice.
Unfortunately, Ice Blast is just a little bit off. Got the Moonlight Shadow, got the Glimmer. How's the anti-invis looking on the LGD side? It's always the worst thing when you it only ever happens once, really, in any professional game, but you just straight up lose a team fight because of Moonlight Shadow, and that can just be the game. But they do have some dust on RTK and some sentries on DDC, so they are prepared for the Glimmer Cape and the Maran ulti.
And Burning's actually built himself a Skadi, so it's pure stats build. I mean, he could have built easily like an MKB or Butterfly, but just tanking it up, and why not, right? Because, as we said, it's near impossible for him to deal with him, for him to take him down. Like, the 2 times we've seen him go down in this game, one is early on when his Dazzle was dead, couldn't protect him. And the other one was later on when they kind of overextended into trying to kill the Morphling and weren't able to do it. If I feel like it's in Vici's hands, if they're grouped up, if they're forcing an objective, if they walk into a fight, if they approach things appropriately, Jarakop is not going to die. Simple as that.
Yeah, it also gives him, I think, way more flexibility with his BKB. He's just got so much HP that it's going to be way harder, either way harder to burst him down in the duration of a stun, for example, or he can be way more selective with how he uses it. So we may even see Burning still with a decent number of BKB charges or a decent BKB duration after the next couple of fights, just because they're not going to be able to put that much pressure on him with this much HP. They're putting some decent pressure on the map. Tyler doing a bit of split pushing right now. Looks like maybe he's just kind of farming up the jungle. But VG are just so confident. They're pushing lanes by themselves. Clockwork's pushing out mid lane, and actually all 3 waves pushing in the Radiant direction right now. So that's not good. I'm liking
the
it.
interesting position Vici finding himself in is that, I mean, I would say that LGD have inevitability on their side in this game. So Vici just needs to be careful about, like, they know they're strong, they know that it's very difficult for them to lose a fight, but if they, you know, take the wrong fight or force the high ground in an inappropriate position or make the mistake like focusing them off when they can't kill him again, losing one big fight, Vici are probably behind, I think. Morphling and Ember definitely, I think, going very late, just outscale Stormspirit and Gyrocopter, and the support cost definitely do as well. The support Maran is going to become less and less relevant as the game goes. The Dazzle, sure, you can save people, but Witch Doctor and A have crazy damage output. Tusk utility is going to match, if not do better than Clocks as it goes later. So Vici just needs to be careful not to throw the control they do have. It is their control, but if there's anything we learned from the previous 6.85 patch, it's that 1 or 2 big fight losses can dramatically shift the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, and the LGD high ground is actually very difficult to break this game. Against AA, the Ember has his Battle Fury now, so have pretty good ways to clear out the wave, keep things spammed, and keep the Morphling split push going at the same time. Do have to commend VG on the fact that they've still got all of these towers up. I mean, they've still got a tier 1 tower on the safe lane. They have... I think the other thing is that they've stopped LGD from having any vision. I don't know when FI picked up this gem, but I do really like the gem purchase, just because it means that there's no split pushing wards over on the other side of the map, and that does mean that, you know, maybe Sylar doesn't go one wave as far when he's pushing, or backs up just that little bit earlier. But he is TPing into towards the bottom lane at the moment, so looks like LGD are somewhat keen to do something here. The Aegis has faded, so that's the one advantage that they do have going for them.
Yeah, it is interesting, because I would have also thought, like, oh, they just want to split, they're accepting that they lose the tower, but maybe LGD recognizing that if they don't put up any kind of fights, you know, sooner or later they shut out of the map completely. There's that gem, they lose all their towers, so even if this tower's going to go down, I think it's more about, like, the dynamic of the game, trying to show that they're not just going to be walked over.
This is such a god-awful choke point for LGD to fight in, though. I think that's the biggest issue that I see for them. This is exactly where Gyrocopter wants to be fighting. And even the Clockwork, if he manages to split the fight down the middle with the cogs, that could be huge. RTK gets jumped on here. Will he be able to survive? Call down coming in. Looks like it's going to connect onto everybody. They want to burst. RTK doesn't get the snowball off. It's a no non-BKB target. Silence. Onto maybe. Jumps backward. Jumps forward. Makes it up onto the high ground. So VG only going to get the Tusk pick off there. And maybe just going to back themselves up.
Yeah, and the problem is if LGD made a rotation into that lane to try and, like, say, hey, we're not going to give it up without a fight, it ends up not working out for them, because that's time that their cores could have been farming other lanes. They weren't. They lose the tower anyway, they lose the hero anyway, and Vici are going to be absolutely fine with that. because there's no opportunity cost. Whereas if if there's split pushing going on, Vici might be thinking twice next time they push. Each time we do this, there's another item on Ember or Morphling. But if LG is going to face them off, then I think Vici will be only too happy to move into those positions. Of course, the high ground is not going to change the dynamic, and maybe we see Vici wait for another Aegis. But if they could find a place to get into that kind of standoff away from the high ground, I think Vici definitely go for it still.
Got some shenanigans happening here. The two VG supports playing around with the Ember Spirit. Remnant's actually just about to fade. They've got the chain stun. He doesn't have another one out at the moment. Oh my god, Vici Gaming wasting that duration. He does manage to jump over the cliff and escape. Missiles coming in. Another Remnant jump. Drum charge as well. Maybe he's going to get all the way back to RTK, who does have the Greaves. And they will be able to heal him back up. That was so clutch from VG and maybe both Arrow.
In the meantime, Super actually picked off DDC at the Radiant Secret Shop. And it's again that vision. If you see the ward that Vici Gaming have out there, they just saw him going there, and Storm can roll from wherever he wants, make that kill.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. And yeah, there isn't an ounce of vision on the map for LGD right now. Not a single ward giving them any semblance of information. VG have been extremely meticulous with just stopping them from getting anything up. The LGD support's still finding a little bit of gold here and there. I think that's the one thing that's actually very surprising to me, that MMY and DDC have both managed to kind of keep themselves in line with the VG supports. But I guess a lot of that has been coming down to the fights. They're going to smoke out at the moment, looking for something. Burning's on the front lines. He is not the hero that you want to focus. Ice Blast not going to connect on anything. RTK finds himself in an awkward situation, and now he's being X'd up. Focused as well. Sylar pops his 10-second BKB and tries to go to work, but he just can't trade hits with this gyrocopter. Butterfly providing some big damage for the gyro. And looks like it's just once again going to be the RTK pickoff. MMY was looking for some kind of a position, but looks like got scattered by the flare and will just be brought down by Super. That is 2 easy kills for Vici Gaming.
And this is what I feel like. LGD don't feel comfortable playing this split push. What? Maybe he's actually caught him, but then is he gonna get arrowed as well? Yeah, even with the Mad Star he gets arrowed, and I think this might just be a death. Yeah, there's the Hex from the Storm Spirit. So LGD feel like they need to get back into the game by winning a fight. I think split pushing only works if you have more than one hero that feels comfortable pushing on their own. Morphling should survive the one time that everyone went to him, but that's when he was being covered by his whole team. And even if he could split push safely, I don't think the Ember Spirit can at the moment. And so then there's awkward place where they got no vision on the map, and they don't have enough heroes that feel comfortable pushing on their own against the Storm Spirit. So they go into these fights, but they're also not strong enough to win the fights.
Yeah, I wonder if they were... I mean, they had no vision. They can jump in here on Sylar. Cogs push back as well. Arrow's already being used. RTK snowballs in. Looking for the punch, but gets immediately hexed up. Can they focus him down? They will be able to. Flak Cannon going to work, and the Flak's actually just going to straight up kill off DDC. Sylar now dragged back. He's morphing as much strength as he possibly can. Gets the wave off. Will be able to keep on running. MMY gets silenced up. Maybe now runs in. Throws that one sleight of fist, but he's also forced to retreat. And that is just going to be 3 dead. Burning with the triple. Standing on the front lines. Nothing can stop him, and that's just going to be a straight up winner axe for Vici Gaming here.
And they're just calling the GG. And I think that's a recognition that the dynamic of the game is pretty settled. It's not going to change. Enough respect for Vici Gaming to not expect them to like get something very obvious wrong. And honestly, for me, I still think it goes back to this Morphling pick. I didn't see the game that LGD won with Morphling in this patch. I'm not sure who it was against, but all the games I have watched of Morphling have been losses, and they've all been similar to this in the sense that you just feel like the hero comes online too late. Like, core heroes, laning heroes, farming heroes need to come online and have some kind of direct impact on the game early on at the moment.
Yeah, the Morph had plenty of net worth, but just was never really able to put anything together. Alright, let's see if we can... I am hopefully in the right lobby this time around, so hopefully they're not gonna leave us behind. But yeah, it just never seemed like the Morphling really got things going. That last smoke looked like it... I guess you have to keep in mind the fact that LGD had zero vision whatsoever, so I got the feeling that they were maybe hoping to smoke out, and then we're anticipating that VG might have been doing Roche or something like that, and they were just gambling that hopefully we can find some kind of immediate pickoff around the Roshan pit and take a decent fight. But they ran up that hill totally blind, and it was just Gyrocopter waiting at the top, and that was really rough. So that wraps it up for game 1. What are you hoping to see in game 2, Scant? What do you want to see LGD do differently?
I want to see them not pick Morphling. That's, I mean, like, honestly, credit to Vici Gaming because they picked Storm right at the end of that draft, and I feel like Storm was the pick. If the Storm's not there, I mean, it's a big pick. Like, it seems silly, but it's a big pick because the hero's got nerfed recently, and it's not like a common pick. And if they don't have the Storm, or at least another hero that functions like the Storm, we could have seen LGD playing the split push game with the Ember Spirit and the Morphling and coming back into the game. The Storm's the main reason that they was kind of choked out in that game. But yeah, it's in terms of LGD's decision. I would like to see them playing an interactive game early on, and that requires not picking a Morphling.
All right, so guys, that's gonna wrap it up for us for Game 1. We are gonna be back with Game 2 soon, so make sure you stick around. Thank you for tuning in for the coverage of the Radiant and Dire Cup, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.